Donald Trump continues to unravel in real time, and if you have any doubts about it, look no further than this. He went on Truth Social and effectively declared war on the biggest pop star in the world with a truth rant that simply said in all caps, apropos of nothing, "I hate Taylor Swift!" exclamation point. Yikes. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends. Everyone knows that Vice President Kamala Harris kicked Donald Trump's ass in their debate last Tuesday. Pretty much everybody recognizes that, except for Trump himself and a handful of MAGA Republican elected officials whose entire careers depend on Donald Trump's favor. So, of course, they can't acknowledge these facts, these uncomfortable truths in real time. But as bad as the debate was, what made matters even worse for Trump was the fact that right after the debate, Taylor Swift, the biggest pop star in the world, came out and officially, formally endorsed the vice president for office. And she encouraged her millions upon millions upon millions of followers, if they're eligible voters, to register to vote. And then on top of that, the next day at the Video Music Awards, during an acceptance speech for an award, on national TV in front of God and country, she again, with a microphone in front of her face, encouraged eligible voters to register to vote. Several days later, as a matter of fact, this morning, Donald Trump, apropos of nothing, goes on to Truth Social and just says this: "I hate Taylor Swift," all caps. Now, Donald Trump regularly says stupid, reckless, unhinged, incendiary things, but quite frankly, I thought that this was a parody. And sometimes you have to be careful because, truth is stranger than fiction. Donald Trump is uniquely strange. And so when you see posts on social media of things that Trump is purported to have said, very often they're true, but sometimes they're not. And it's really hard to determine given his obvious cognitive decline, stupidity, and just general craziness. But it is true. If you go to Truth Social, Donald Trump's profile, he says, "I hate Taylor Swift," and he posted it this morning. This is a real thing that a 78-year-old former president of the United States, leader of the Republican Party, one of two major parties, and a man trying to become president again, is saying about the biggest pop star in the world, a woman in her early to mid-30s, simply days after she just endorsed his opponent. So as far as I know, unless something's going on behind the scenes, Taylor Swift didn't key Donald Trump's car. She didn't write a nasty song about him or anything. Like, there's no personal connection between these two other than she doesn't think he'd make a good president. And so she endorsed Vice President Harris. And as unhinged as this is, it would make more sense, I suppose, if it happened in the immediate aftermath of Taylor Swift's endorsement of Vice President Harris. But this was days later. So Donald Trump has been simmering and stewing on this. And finally, that simmer transformed into a boil. And he just dropped this on Truth Social. Really ridiculous, unhinged, unnecessary things from a self-destructing man with no impulse control. I should say, when he phoned into Fox and Friends the day after his disastrous debate with the vice president, he was asked about Taylor Swift's endorsement. So this was on Wednesday morning. This was several days ago. And he did subtly threaten Taylor Swift. He suggested that Taylor Swift would suffer some sort of financial repercussions for her endorsement of Harris. So I want to play this clip as a reminder of where Trump's thought processes are.
He's doing a great. Hey, I've got a quick question for you. Out of nowhere, after the debate last night, Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris. What do you think?
Well, I actually like Mrs. I actually like Mrs. Mahomes much better, if you want to know the truth. She's a big Trump fan. I was not a Taylor Swift fan. It was just a question of time. She couldn't. You couldn't possibly endorse Biden. You look at Biden, you couldn't possibly endorse him. But she's a very liberal person. She seems to always endorse a Democrat, and she'll probably pay a price for it at in the marketplace. But no, I like.
So the idea is, of course, that simply by endorsing the vice president, she will have alienated Donald Trump supporters and Donald Trump voters. And I have no doubt that people are cultishly devoted to Trump enough that this endorsement will completely turn them off. It's possible. On the other hand, Taylor Swift formally endorsed President Biden in 2020 when he ran against Donald Trump. And then in the 4-year stretch, her profile, her net worth, her celebrity grew. It only grew. She suffered no consequences for opposing Donald Trump in the 2020 election and endorsing President Biden. So I don't know why this election would be any different. It seems like Taylor Swift is bigger than partisan politics. But yeah, this seems like the the idle thrashing and impotence of a 78-year-old man whose life and political career are crumbling around him, due in large part, if not totality, to his own stupidity, recklessness, and stupid decisions and cognitive decline. It's all his fault. And so he's lashing out weirdly, publicly, at Taylor Swift. In contrast, Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota gave a speech yesterday in which he referenced the pop star who endorsed him, Taylor Swift, and this is how he characterizes Taylor Swift.
Two incredible senators who happen to be women. Jen Schultz, who's going to make a wonderful member of Congress. Gwen Walz, these three. Here's my life hack for all of you, all the guys out there, whatever. Here's my life hack. Surround yourself with smart women and listen to them, and you'll do just fine. You'll do just fine. That includes my fellow cat owner, Taylor Swift, too, by the way. It's really great to have all of these women help us beat the smallest man in the world, Donald Trump.
That's awesome. What a great affirmative message, impeccably delivered. He held up his Taylor Swift bestie bracelet, which is a staple of the Taylor Swift culture, the fan group. But yeah, it's so fascinating to see how her entrance into politics in 2024 might have an outcome determinative effect. It's not guaranteed, but it is possible. And certainly the initial evidence in terms of promoting civic engagement and her continuous habit of driving people to voter registration sites, it is not to be underestimated. This is what a polling expert had to say recently about Taylor Swift's endorsement and the immediate effects on the election.
We can see some of the back-end data in terms of the data that is coming and hitting off the voter file that we build. And what we saw was this really massive increase. We're calling it the Swift effect now because it's really unlike anything I've seen. We're seeing a 400 or 500% increase in people coming and trying to register to vote immediately following the debate and in that period after Taylor Swift posted on Instagram. And what's really remarkable about that is usually you'll see these increases and they kind of fade away. In this case, we've seen it continue through the last 2 days into today.
How so?
Well, you know, I'm told, I have two teenage daughters, that she was on the Video Music Awards on MTV last night. Apparently, she put out another pitch for people to register to vote. And so we're seeing this continued spike of 4 or 5 times what you would regularly see. So
That's incredible. Now, again, the fact that they're visiting the sites doesn't necessarily mean that they will register to vote. You have to do more than visit it. You have to complete the form. And then simply because you register to vote doesn't mean you'll actually go out and vote. And simply because you register to vote, go out to vote, doesn't mean that you're going to vote for the vice president. She no doubt has Republican fans and people who are registering to vote Republican as well. There's no question. There's no way that all of these things, all of these registrations are 100% Democrat. So it's a bunch of if then else statements, to be sure. But it does dramatically increase the likelihood that voter turnout increases as a consequence. If you have more people registering to vote or going to the website, it makes it more likely that more people are going to register to vote, which makes it more likely that more people are going to turn out to vote. So this is huge. This is potentially game changing, and we've only just begun. We're not even a week into Taylor Swift's endorsement. She has already dropped the Instagram post. She's made the pitch on screen, on microphone at the VMAs, so there's no telling. Some Democratic strategists have recommended that she actually go to swing states and conduct free concerts where the only way to get in, the only thing you have to do is produce a valid voter ID. That would be awesome, or voter registration card. That would be freaking awesome, right? But yeah, all of this is Donald Trump, again, just impotently flailing and making matters worse. And somebody else pointed out on Twitter, how strange is it that Donald Trump is a former president, potentially the next president, saying on social media that he hates one of his citizens, a fellow American. Taylor Swift may be a pop star and privileged and everything else, but she would be a citizen whom Donald Trump has to serve, just like the rest of us, if he becomes president. Imagine the backlash if President Biden said, I hate Kid Rock, or I hate Rob Schneider, or some sort of James Woods, a conservative celebrity. Imagine the backlash that he would receive as a consequence. So it's incumbent on us to make sure that Donald Trump faces social and reputational consequences, and hopefully political and electoral consequences, for what he has to say about Taylor Swift and others as well. And I have no doubt that him waging war, declaring war against Taylor Swift, as he seems to have done now, is just a really, really big mistake that will only further undermine his efforts to take back the White House. Crazy stuff. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.